Disruptors, Carrie here. And yes, it's another Monday, but I have some real exciting news about what I did this weekend and a little change up to our regular live episode. So I want to tell you what we did this weekend and why I'm choosing to do what I'm doing for the live episode. So some of you may have seen that we, for the very first time, launched a live workshop, and I've never done this before. So here's the thing. I am asked all the time, like, what do you teach? How do you teach it? And it's like, it's easy for me to explain really quickly. We don't diet. We use food as fuel. We help our clients to understand more about food, more about their bodies, have a positive relationship with food and their bodies through a series of what we call a trifecta around your mind, your body, and your sustainability skills, right? So that's what I usually can say. But of course, it doesn't dig into all the aspects of it. And so what we teach our clients really is over a 3-month period of time of daily small instruction where we kind of get 1% better every single day. And then a continued lifetime of cultivating this new relationship that they have with them. And I mean, it's amazing and transformational. And I know that we can't bring every single person into our client base. We only bring in about 20 clients a month on purpose because what we do is so personalized. And yet there are thousands and thousands of you out there that are just like, I need to know more about what this is all about. So for the very first time, I was like, I'm going to do a workshop. I'm going to take 3 months of learning and I'm going to condense it into 3 hours. And holy cow. It was amazing. It was hard and yet really impactful. So we spent more than 3 hours talking and working and really understanding food, how it serves our body, how it serves our soul, and what to be doing to fuel our body correctly and not depriving it through dieting or any of the other things that kind of is out there. We learned about our mindsets, how our thoughts and our beliefs dictate our actions. If you've ever been one to say, know what to do, I just don't do it, or not really understand your triggers and the way that you kind of process through certain things, we talked about that. And then we dug into how do you have the sustainability skills? How do you have the skill set to be able to say, regardless of what life throws at me, I know how to show up for myself and I know how to do it forever. I can be the role model for my kids. I mean, we did all of that. It was absolutely crazy. And we shut the doors right before, for registration. And it was literally the first time I did it. And I keep wondering, am I going to do it again? It was a ton of work preparing. My team and I spent weeks preparing materials and making sure everything was set and ready to go. So am I going to do it again? I don't know yet. But I did get a lot of people saying, oh, I missed it. Oh, I wish I could have seen it. Oh, is there a recording? So here's what I'm doing. I had no plan of doing this at all, but yesterday I just said to my team, can we offer the recording? So what we did with the recordings, we took those 3 hours and we segmented it into each session, even have the transcripts. And because there was so much more I wanted to share, we added a ton of bonus materials to the recording so that people could access even more and dive deeper because there was only so much I could do in 3 hours. And so what I am doing and what I am offering only for today and tomorrow. So today's Monday and tomorrow, Tuesday. That is it. Until tomorrow, I am giving you the chance to be able to get into the recording. And what I mean by that is that you can register for the workshop and you'll be brought into our learning portal where you'll have lifetime access to it for the recording, all the bonus materials, plus a whole lot of other things. And it's really amazing. And it's such a low price point. So it'll be $59 for you to do that. I mean, when you think about having access to that and all of that information, it's worth its weight in gold. You couldn't get me on a phone call for 30 minutes to talk to you for $60, and you get me for 3 hours plus tons and tons and tons of more resources that I actually had never released before. We had clients that were on that call or on that Zoom and learned a ton. If you were in that workshop, put in the comments what you learned from it, how it was, what you thought of it, and we'll drop a link in here so you can get access to that, but then after Tuesday, it's gone. We're going to take it down and you will not be able to do it again. So if you are interested in it at all, a little bit like, I wonder what this is all about, go grab it. I really tried to make it at a price point that if you are committed and want this, anybody can really do. So let's go for it. And now what I'm saying about the live episode is we're going to go a little different today. So while I was doing the Zoom, we worked our butt off. There were two things. One is I knew that I was going to have it in me to do a whole podcast today because I was like, really wanting to focus on the Zoom and the workshop, but also certain things came up during the workshop that I was thinking about where our bodies are talking to us in so many ways. We had so many women that said, I don't have the energy I want to have, or, I have all these cravings, and we think it's our problem. We think it's like our willpower. We think we just do too much. We don't realize that our body is talking to us in a very specific way. We have no idea how to listen to it. And so what I want you to do today is I want you to go, I'm going to leave this and I'm going to bring up a previous podcast. It's called, Are You Ghosting Yourself? The concept of ghosting someone, which is sort of a new concept. I think if anybody's over 40, you're like, ghosting, what? I love that podcast because I think it brings to light the things your body is saying that you don't even realize. And so I'm going to give you a chance to watch that podcast today because it just really brought up for me over this weekend with this workshop, how little we actually know about our body. It's like we're on this airplane. And we know when you get on an airplane and you see the pilot and you're like, oh, thank God I don't have to fly this plane. I'm just going to go sit in the passenger and get a little cocktail. Well, think about our bodies like a plane. We've been sitting on it like the passenger, just being like, I don't know why I'm landing where I'm landing. It's because you're not driving your plane or flying your plane. You don't know how to fly your plane. So the first thing you have to do is be able to listen to your body so you understand what it's saying. So then you know the direction it's going. And right now, our body is talking to us and we do not know what it's saying. We are not the pilot of our plane. So we're going to talk about how to be the pilot of your plane in this podcast. And then I want you to go and get into that Zoom workshop training and dig into it. Now, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to spend the $59 and let it sit on a shelf. When someone tells you about a really good book and then it sits by your nightstand forever, I want you to commit to getting this and then showing up and scheduling time in your day to watch it. You can break it up into, you don't have to do 3 hours in a row. We broke up the recording so you can do it in pieces, but get through it so that you can actually start to listen to your body. You can do the things we talk about so you can go listen to your body. All right. That's all I have to say. I want you to watch how you're ghosting yourself, comment while you're watching, and then ask any questions you want right there in the feed right there, and I can answer them for you. All right, you guys, go watch. Hey everyone, Carrie here. I am so excited to connect with you guys, my diet disruptors, on today's episode. So if you are tuning in live with me, please say hello in the comments. I would love to know who's here. Every single week, I connect with our diet disruptors. Diet disruptors are those who know that dieting is never going to be the answer. And even if you aren't quite yet a diet disruptor, I know you know that dieting is not serving you. And so I'm excited to connect with you every single week. So I am live. We are in our YouTube channel, in our Facebook business page, Disruptive Nutrition. We are in our free Facebook group, Diet Disruptor Squad. If you are not in that group, make sure you go and join that. We are also streaming in our podcast. So many ways for you guys to tune in. Hello. I recently had somebody on a call fill out their call application because we do want to know about you before we jump on a call and chat with you about your needs and come up with a plan for you. We always say, regardless of where you are in your journey, there's a place for you here at Disruptive Nutrition. We just want to know more about you. We're all about relationships. And so I remember reading the survey the other day, and the woman said she has dieted her way to diabetes and to weighing over 250 pounds. And I thought that was so interesting when she said she dieted her way to a disease. I mean, what does that say about the diet, right? And I don't care if you've done if you think you've tried all the diets, right? They're all actually the same. They all require deprivation. They all require you actually to fight your body instead of working with it. And today on our episode that we're gonna dig into actually assessing where you are, what your body is telling you, and if you're actually at risk for metabolic disease. And so you may be sitting here and saying, I just can lose a few pounds, but overall I'm pretty healthy. Or maybe that there is some blood work that has come back and you're like, oh, that's scary. Well, here's the thing. What we don't realize is that most of the doctors that you're going to see have less than 10 hours of nutritional training, but yet food has the power to actually heal. It can be poison and it can be medicine. And it's not even about changing that much of what you're doing. A lot of women will come to me and say, I'm eating healthy, but I can't seem to lose the weight. Well, first of all, it's really important to recognize that weight gain is a symptom of health and hormones. It's not just like, oh, I'm getting older and I'm gaining weight or nothing's really working. I need to find another diet. Your body has been talking to you for years. Even if you've lost weight on a diet before, if you deprived yourself, I promise you, you weren't actually working with your body. So many women will say to me, I know I need to be X amount of weight because that's where I felt my best. But very often, because we use the scale as a measure of progress, we are so happy that we are a certain number that we ignore certain signs that our body's actually not as healthy as it should be. I know a lot of skinny, unhealthy people. And if you do too, put a 1 in the comments. If you know people who are thin, but clearly unhealthy. Our goal at Disruptive Nutrition is to teach you how you get to your optimal health, because when you do, you'll get to your optimal weight. But it's so important because when we are actually healthy, we can live our best life. We can do all the things. We put ourselves at such less risk for metabolic disease. And understand that right now, 9 out of 10 deaths are due to a metabolic disease. And what people will not tell you, what the diet industry will not tell you, is that the root cause of all metabolic disease is a lack of stable blood sugar. Proactively. A few weeks ago, we had Joanna on our show. Joanna is a diabetic educator, and she has been for more than 20 years. She was always taught that your blood sugar just balances itself. Well, it does. Your body will balance its blood sugar in one of 2 ways, either through food or on its own. It's much less efficient to do it on its own. And if you love food like I do, wouldn't you want to be able to fuel yourself and eat and get yourself really healthy? I mean, it's a no-brainer. But here's the thing. I'll talk to women all the time, and I get urgent for them. I see the signs that are actually pointing in the direction of metabolic disease. I see the signs that are pointing in the direction of continual weight gain and eventual loss of mobility, eventual loss of quality of life, eventual death. I can see it just in small little things that they're saying. And sometimes they blow it off like, oh yeah, I mean, I have no energy at night, right? Or yeah, no, I wake up a few times in the middle of the night. Or yeah, I have a lot of bone and joint pain. Or yeah, I'm creeping up, gaining weight a little bit more here and there. Even when we talk about depression or anxiety, things like that are all signs that our body is telling us something. When women will say to me, oh, I have such a sweet tooth, put in the comments, sweet tooth, if you're somebody that has a sweet tooth. And a lot of you think that is just your lack of willpower, right? And that there's really nothing that you can do to overcome it. Well, believe it or not, your body, again, is talking to you. It's giving you signs to say, hey, hold on, you are at risk. So when I talk to women and I see these little signs, when my coaches talk to women, I mean, we talk to women every single day, many of you, and we hear you, and you don't realize exactly what your body is saying. And in fact, you're kind of ghosting it. So ghosting, oh my goodness. I literally just learned what that word meant just, I guess, before the pandemic hit. Believe it or not, I had no idea that that was even a word or a thing. Well, I've been married for almost 22 years. And so the dating thing with when you text messaged wasn't actually a thing. The only we called, right? We called people and we used the beeper. I remember my husband and I had a little message signal that was 143 that meant I love you. That was the extent of our communication. Ghosting might have been like they didn't call me back, but I had just never heard that term before until I was talking to a friend who wasn't married and she was younger than me and she was dating and she had gotten kind of serious with a guy and she even got his key to his apartment. Okay. And so it was like going really well. And I was out for lunch. I was in New York City with her and then another friend. They were both younger than me. And it was like they were talking the same language. And I'm sitting there like waiting for the punchline of the story. And my friend Katie was looking at Kia and it was like she almost knew what was going to happen because he ended up ghosting her. And they had all this communication. She even had a key for his apartment. And then eventually one day he was like, I'm done, and just stopped communicating with her. And Katie was just looking at Kia like, oh my gosh, he ghosted you. And like it was a thing. I was like, hold on a second, y'all. What does ghosting mean? And I had to learn it means when you just ignore the communication that is coming at you. And it's now a verb. It's actually a word. Tell me in the comments if you've never heard of ghosting before. Tell me, like, if you're, I mean, I'm closer to 50 than I am to, the ghosting kind of era. So I guess that's why I didn't know. I don't know. Am I the only one that didn't know that? Just tell me. Because anyway, I have since used that word a lot. It's like part of my vocabulary about ghosting. I'll even say it to my daughter. So you ghosting me? They're like, Mom, you don't even know how to use that word. So here's the thing. You're ghosting your body. I know you're ghosting your body because I hear it from women every single day that your body is telling you things. It's talking to you. It's trying to communicate and you're not responding. You're literally ignoring it. A lot of times you think, oh, this is just the way it needs to be. Now, I will tell you that when we work with our clients, when we talk about how we fuel our body correctly, we talk about eating healthy and correct, a balance of the two, eating healthy, whole, unprocessed foods as much as possible, but also balancing our blood sugar. Those are the two pieces of the puzzle that we know have to happen. But so many women do not see the urgency. And when you are having some signals, that is your body screaming, hey, I'm here. Don't ghost me. Because unlike a relationship where you can, I guess, just move on and find somebody else, you can't move on from your own body. And the more and more you ghost your body, the less and less it's going to be able to protect you. The less and less it's going to be able to pursue you and love on you. It's going to have to do things to your body that actually are going to put you more and more at risk. And by the time it really starts screaming at you, because again, what you'll do when someone ghosts you is you'll just go move on, right? Your body will not. It will not move on. It will keep going for you, but it will have to keep adjusting. It's like a GPS that's like recalculating. And if you keep going off course, it's really going to have a hard time getting you back on. And that is what is happening. And I don't know that all of you are recognizing the signs. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to have you kind of go through a checklist. So I want you to have a notebook out, a piece of paper, get your notes on your phone. While you're listening, I want you to write down. Now, if you have to listen and then go back and listen again, that is fine. But these kind of guidelines that I'm going to give you are real important for you. So I'm going to give you kind of 3 different ways to be looking at your body and the signals, the text messages, quote unquote, that it's been sending you. And if you've been ignoring it. Now, if this first kind of little checklist that I'm going to give you, if you say yes to any of these things, I'm going to tell you that you absolutely are at risk for obesity and or diabetes. Dr. Mark Hyman actually calls it diabesity. 1 out of 2 people right now are pre-diabetic. When you are diabetic, not only is everything being thrown off in your body, but it's a jumpstart to so many other metabolic diseases, as well as an 80% chance of dementia. My grandmother died of Alzheimer's, and I think all the time about how genetic that is and how I so badly want to do everything in my power to be able to live and eventually die an old woman in my sleep. I don't want to die in the way that my grandmother did. I don't want to die in the way that Peter's grandmother did, with diabetes earlier than she should have. So many of you are actually at risk. And if you keep doing the same thing you've been doing and expecting different results, I have news for you. It's not going to work. But the first piece, the things that we talk about with our clients right now, is awareness. Once you have an awareness, you can start to do. But if you just kind of knock these things off as, it's just because I'm busy. It's just because I'm not totally on track yet, and it will be okay. When life calms down, I'll be able to. Life is never going to calm down. There's no perfect time except right now to get a hold of your health, because how fast does 6 months go by? I want you to think about 6 months ago, where you were, how fast it's gone by, and have you actually really made any progress? In reality, if I had done these checklists with you 6 months ago, I guarantee you have more yeses now. Okay. All right. So again, I am telling you, if you have any yeses on this comes from Dr. Mark Hyman. And so it's not something I made up. Dr. Mark Hyman is a functional medical practitioner who teaches people as well around the importance of blood sugar stabilization and how we have to be proactive about it. Now, if you are answering yes to any of these, you are at risk, and it is time today to start to do something. Not tomorrow, not next week. It is time to take action today. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. I'm going to say that again. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. You cannot get the time back. And the longer and longer you wait, the more and more at risk you put your body. This is so much more than just the weight on the scale. Okay. All right. So do you have a family history of diabetes, heart disease, or obesity? Yes or no? Right there. If that is a yes, you have to do something about it. I am urgent for these women, and I cannot be more urgent for you than you are for yourself. Okay. Do you have extra belly fat? Okay. So I want you to think about the fat that's around your belly. That is a huge indicator of your risk of metabolic disease. Okay. So a waist circumference, and this is real general, but a waist circumference more than 35 inches for women or more than 40 inches for men is a criteria that you can look at. But what I'd really rather you do is kind of take a look at your own body, right? And the relation, the kind of circumference and that proportion, okay? Because that is a huge indicator of the inflammation, of your digestive issues, of circulation, of a variety of things that are leading you down a path. It's a math equation. 1 + 1 = 2. Yes to any of these equals you going down a certain road. Do you have sugar or cravings for carbs? And carbs meaning like refined carbs, like breads, right? Those kinds of things, chips. If you have a sugar craving, that is a sign. Do you have trouble losing weight on any of these diets now? Where it maybe you were able to lose weight in the beginning when you were younger, but you're having a harder and harder time losing weight. Those are signs about your body. Now, I will say all day long, none of us should be dieting, but you know that when you dieted in the beginning, it was easier. It is because your system continues to shut itself down, making it harder and harder to lose weight in some of those kind of quick weight loss diety kinds of ways. Your body's actually getting unhealthier and unhealthier with every diet. Okay. Has your doctor told you that your blood sugar is a little high, like maybe more than 100 milligrams per deciliter? Or have you actually been diagnosed with insulin resistance, prediabetes, or diabetes? I mean, those are huge signs right there. And again, kind of some of that stuff at the top if you wait any longer, you're going to start to say yes to some of these other things that are coming down at the bottom of this. Okay. Do you have high levels of triglycerides, like over 100 milligrams per deciliter, or a low HDL, which is the good cholesterol, like under 50? Okay. Do you have heart disease? Do you have high blood pressure? Are you inactive? Less than 30 minutes of exercise 4 times a week. I know a lot of you think I haven't exercised. I don't have time now. I will say you cannot exercise a bad food plan. You cannot just go and eat whatever you want, exercise, and think that, oh, I'm good. No, that's not going to work. But if you are like literally sitting and not moving, that is a huge indicator that you are at risk. Have you had gestational diabetes? Because I've actually talked to a lot of women that had gestational diabetes and then they have their child and boom, diabetes is gone. But just having that puts you at risk. Okay. Here's another one that a lot of people do not think of as your body talking to you, but you are ghosting it if you do not recognize this as a sign. Are you ready? Do you suffer from infertility, low sex drive, or sexual dysfunction? Believe it or not, those are signs around what your body is needing from you. I had infertility issues for years and years and years. It took us almost 6 years before we were able to conceive. And eventually it was through IVF. I look back on my life and I absolutely know with 100% certainty what a mess I was nutritionally. It wasn't until I became almost 40 that I actually did something about it because I didn't recognize the signs. No doctor was working with me on my health when it came to infertility. I was just working on getting as many eggs in my body as I could and going through in vitro. That was the solution. Nobody talked to me about the fact that my cycle was 40 days. It didn't like even factor into the conversation at all. And yet I know now that was huge. And now I am actually at 47 suffering from a lot of not suffering. I am diagnosed with menopause and I don't have any symptoms really other than a few basic ones. And my doctor has said emphatically that because I take on a nutritional approach around blood sugar stabilization, he is sure that is why I'm not seeing all the symptoms that I should be seeing at the age that I am, at the level that I am at when it comes to menopause. And we do think that there was a ton related to the amount of fertility drugs that I was given back then. So think about that. Okay. So that is your first level of checklist. Those are your first indicators. And if you have yes to any of those, please plan to get in a call with us. We are here. We open our calendar up a few times a year and we will talk to you. There's no pressure. We will talk up to you about your story and come up with a plan for you. We do this with every woman in every kind of walk of life, regardless of where you are. We have a plan that we can work with you on. All right. So I also want you to start thinking about a few other pieces because this has to do with toxicity. The first one had to do with your risk for all those metabolic diseases. Now, these are all interrelated, but toxicity in your system is huge. I gotta ask y'all, where you think toxins are stored in your body? Put it in the chat, put it in the comments if you think you know. Where do you think your body stores the toxins? Now, if we're eating any processed food, if we're eating food that is not clean, whole, unprocessed, which all of us are, let's be honest, it's got toxins in it. If we're breathing the air, like there's toxins all around us, right? Our body has to store it somewhere because if it didn't, it would be like poison in our body. So I want to see where people think it is. It's actually in our inflammatory fat. So the fat that is actually causing us to be unhealthy, because there's a certain amount of fat in our body that we need, structural fat, the fat within our muscles, all of that. We need that. It is that inflammatory fat that actually is produced as an effort to protect us when we are dieting, when we are spiking our blood sugar, when we are on that roller coaster, when we have toxins introduced into our body. We then will produce those fat cells. The inflammatory fat is what you want to get rid of. And very often, if you are not finding ways to release those toxins, I don't care what diet you are on, you will never be able to get healthy and lose the weight in the way that you want. You will always have inflammatory fat. So we need to be honest about that. And there are a few different kind of signs that the toxicity is an issue in your body. Okay. So our gut is our second brain. Everything happens from our gut. If you do not have a healthy gut, nothing else in your body will be healthy. You will not be able to lose the weight. You will not be able to get to your goals. Okay. So if you have things like any nausea on a regular basis, or even vomiting, diarrhea, or constipation, those are signs. Don't ghost your body, right? Feeling bloated. How about this? Either like burping a lot or passing gas a lot. Now, there are times that we pass gas when we are really detoxing our body. But when we know we're not serving our body, those are some symptoms: heartburn, stomach pain. Okay. How about other pieces that are like, you probably don't even think about? Our ears. If you get ear infections, if they're itchy, if you get drainage or ringing in your ears, your eyes are itchy or watery, you may think it's just allergies. But it could also be a sign of toxicity, depending on how severe that is. Do you get swollen or sticky eyelids, or bags or dark circles under your eyes? Okay. Do you have fatigue, sluggishness, a feeling of apathy, or sometimes hyperactivity, and then it kind of ebbs and flows? Restlessness, sleep issues. Do you have mood swings, anxiety, fear, or nervousness, anger, irritability, depression, regular headaches, or kind of like brain fog, insomnia, not being able to sleep well? Let's talk about your muscles in your joints. If you have pain in your joints, if you have stiffness or limitation of movement, these are signs that you have buildup in areas that are not serving you. Skin. I know this was so true for me. Acne, hives. Do you have hair loss? Excessive sweating even. Okay. Now, sweating is super important, really, really important. We just had a guest coach on in our membership group who did a whole series on just the importance of sweating. Okay. But there's this point where it's like sweating excessively. And I'm not talking about just hot flashes around menopause. However, when you are getting kind of your body into a better place in the way that we teach, those often help too. Are you talking about, when we talk about brain fog, memory issues, sometimes poor concentration, confusion? These are signs that your body is talking to you and you might be ghosting it. Are you craving certain foods, have excessive weight gain, or weight gain very, very recently? Difficulty breathing, congestion, coughing, chronic coughing. Are you getting sick a lot? Lots of cold, things like that. Like, I can't tell you honestly, other than a very small bout with COVID that I barely even knew I had the last time I was sick. That says a lot about not only your overall health, but about the toxicity that's in your body. Okay. So those are canker sores actually is another one that I forgot to mention. That's really important on the list. Any of those yeses, stop ghosting your body. Okay. All right. And we're going to do one more here that really will kind of identify if you are addicted to food. Now, a lot of you will say, oh, I'm addicted to food, and you blow it off. If you are, that is a sign of your health, because your body doesn't innately want to crave things that are not good for it. But because of the sugar, I will say pandemic, but the sugar pandemic that we have, we're actually studying a book in our membership group called Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss. And we know that without even our realization that so much sugar has been placed into regular foods like ketchup, for example, bread, that we have actually kind of been poisoned into a food addiction. It is not your fault. But when you aren't aware, then you just continue to do like it's just normal. It's not okay, and it's not normal. And I will tell you that when I went away recently to England with my family, it was so funny. Like, there was this whole, England is, Europe in general, pastries and all that kind of stuff. And croissants and all that. And it was like, believe it or not, your body changes in what it wants. Your body changes in what it really feels like it craves and needs. And I kind of wrote down some thoughts as I was there, because I was so like, oh my gosh, like our body has actually been hijacked to want and crave things that it isn't going to serve it, and it isn't actually natural to us. It sends messages to our brain about what we want, and we've almost lost Mark Hyman often talks about our nutritional wisdom. We've actually lost that because of this infusion of these fat, salt, sugar, and fat into our foods. But I actually have changed my innate biology into kind of craving the things that are going to serve my body. That's actually what I want. When I looked at that pastry shop, I didn't even want it. And so many of my clients say that all the time. If that's you, if you're one of our clients and you're watching or listening, then put that down. If that's one of a big realization that you had, that it wasn't even like you wanted it anymore. Okay, so let's go down this kind of checklist. If you are actually addicted to food, if you are, massive signs that your body is telling you that you need to do something about it. Okay, so are you eating foods even if you're not hungry because of cravings? You have these cravings and you're just kind of eating food, right? Do you worry that you have to like cut down on certain foods? Like it's a worry that you have. Do you feel sluggish or even tired after eating, especially if you overeat? Okay. Do you kind of have health issues that will require you to probably change some of your habits, but you keep doing it despite that? If you have spent a lot of time dealing with negative feelings around what you've been eating, overeating, that kind of thing, instead of kind of living healthy lifestyles or spending time with friends or family, like you're spending more time dealing with kind of your negative compulsions versus time with friends or family, that is a red flag. Okay. If you cut out certain foods, do you have anxiety or withdrawal systems? That is a big, big red flag that you have addictions that we need to take care of. But also when you are trying to do it on your own, it's almost impossible. But we have been able to do it with all of the women that we work with because of the way in which we go about doing it. But the first part is to recognize that those withdrawal symptoms are a huge sign of an addiction to food. 1 + 1 = 2, you guys. It is a math equation. Again, I operate with such urgency for you because I see where it's going. There is no other path if you keep doing what you're doing. Do you have issues related to food and eating, and it kind of like decreases your ability to function effectively, where it's like causing you stress around going out to dinner, or you're just obsessing around food? Some of you may like have one way or the other, right? Like are obsessing about, you're trying to eat healthy, or you're so scared about eating unhealthy that you get obsessive around going out and what the food is going to be there, right? Or is it the other way, where you only like certain types of food, very often foods that are not going to be good for you, and you're going to a place where you know there's going to be healthy options and you're like, I'm not going to be able to eat that. Okay. And then here's the last one here. Do you need more and more of the foods that you crave to experience any pleasure or to reduce negative emotions? And if those are kind of pieces of you, there is an addiction there that isn't necessarily mindset. Now, we do a lot of work on mindset, but the reason why in the work that we do, we first teach you how to eat, right? Like, and build in our mindset, our body, our sustainability skills within that, because just taking care of the food starts to eliminate so many of those things, so many of those feelings, so many of those negative emotions, so many of those cravings, that then we can actually strip those away that were because of food and get to actually where the foundational issues are coming around your mindsets and your inability to sustain something for a long period of time. So if those kind of three things. The first set is, really looking at your true at risk for metabolic disease, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, high cholesterol, and dying and early death due to those things. The second one was really around your levels of toxicity and understanding that you will, if you have any of those symptoms, you will never release inflammatory fat, which is the fat you want to release. That's why you keep stepping on that scale, thinking something's going to happen. If you don't deal with those symptoms, don't ghost your body. And then if you are addicted to food, yes, you might think it's all around emotion, and very likely it is, but there are also pieces of the puzzle you are likely not considering around how to eat, not just healthy, but also correctly in the way that we teach. Because I always say awareness, when you know you can do. If you don't know these things, if you aren't aware, you're never going to do something, and you're never going to do it urgently. So my goal in this was for you to be able to understand yourself a little bit better, to be able to understand the signs, to be able to understand what your body is saying to you, and to stop ghosting it, because your body's not going to walk away from you until the very, very end. Right? Your body's going to keep communicating with you, even if you ghost it, but it is going to end up in a quality of life that you do not want. If you have any sort of goals to be able to be around for your kids, for your grandkids, to be active, to be able to travel, to be able to do the things, then, and you were able to say yes to any of those pieces that I just brought up, you have to do something about it. And we absolutely can help you to do that. So, 100%, we are committed to you. We will put in a link for you to be able to book a call with one of my coaches. Not all of my coaches are available all the time. We kind of rotate, and we have a way that we can kind of get you on our schedule, but you've got to be aware of how urgent this is. This isn't about the weight on the scale, because here's what happens. Like, so many reasons why when we use weight on the scale as an indicator of success, it's not only totally inaccurate, but also you're not going to lose 30 pounds in a day, right? So it's so easy to be like, I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll just do it, because you're not going to see an immediate change the next day by making a step in the right direction, right? So you don't have that urgency because it doesn't feel like you're going to see that. Well, the urgency will come in when you literally are almost on death's door. And then by then, you are so far gone that the amount of progress you can make is related to how far gone you are. If you have these signs, let's work in urgency now so that you can live the life that you want to live. So I hope this was helpful. Again, go back and listen to it if you didn't have a notepad, so you could actually see for yourself how many of those symptoms that you actually have that you've been ghosting yourself on. No more ghosting yourself. You love yourself too much. Show that love to yourself. Show up for yourself, because if you really, really want something different, you got to do something different. And that is what we are all about here. All right, you guys, wherever you are on your journey, there's a place for you at Disruptive Nutrition. Get on our books to get a call with a coach, and let us help walk you through.